Post ayahuasca, driving home. It was the absolute scariest and safest and most loving place I've ever been. I was showed the other side last night. Good exist.
Hey there, my friend. I'm Super Sid, the business shaman, and I'm super excited to bring to you all today my first ayahuasca experience. Recently, I traveled many hundred miles away to go and experience my first ayahuasca ceremony. And during that ceremony, I wanted to put together kind of a documentation and a documentary of exactly what happened and ultimately what ayahuasca did for me, and hopefully help some other people who might be on the fence about doing something like this around their self-healing or around their life transformation, so that we can give them the knowledge and the tools to be able to not only do something like this, but ultimately use something like this if they feel they want to be able to transform their life and ultimately really kick into high gear their self-healing. So without any further ado, let's rock and roll.
Here we are, 1 week, well, Sunday before Aya, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff going through me right now, a lot of thoughts, and I thought I'd document them here, leading up to. So, you looked a little bit about like the video, we went through the interview process, we started changing the diet. So everything's kind of began, and the thing about Aya is, at least in our experience, is that it's very much a process as much as it is just a ceremony, right? I think the ceremony is kind of the peak of that process, whereas like there's lead up, right? There's things and transformations that happen before we get there. And I'm a huge believer in that parallels with so many things in life and so many things in business, like it's not just one big night where everything happens, right? Like there's this lead up and there's this transformation that happens before. I've actually came down to one of my favorite parts, the 92 acres that we're on. So there's a creek right back here. There's a massive legend around a Native American passing out and dying behind those rocks. So there's a lot of energy always down here. We also have the fire pit stuff down here. I ground a lot down here. The creeks down here, all that stuff's down here, and I just kind of feel like it's this whirlwind of goodness. So I come down here often, and I'll probably be down here a lot this week. But I wanted to share with you guys kind of what's going through my head, and things that I'm thinking about before Aya. Tiffany's been on it already, so I have it. So I have a little bit of kind of like, okay, so this is what you can expect. But there's always that in the back of your head that like everybody responds differently to everything, right? So I mean, like I personally don't know how I'm going to react. However, this is kind of the feelings and the thoughts that are going through my head. I personally feel like if I was to give this emotion a feeling, and relate it back to maybe an experience that I've had in the past, I think that this would easily be it. I feel like I'm in line. I feel like I literally just got tall enough to ride a roller coaster that I haven't been able to ride my entire life, but I've known is there for quite some time. And finally, I just, eked over like the line, and I'm able to, go ride this roller coaster. I feel like I'm standing in line right now with, hours to go or whatever, ready to ride this ride. And I feel like in my head, like, there's all these things, like, there's all these questions, what is it going to be like? You get knots in your stomach, all that, it's all that stuff that just sort of comes up. And I think like for me, I understand like something's about to happen. It's just a matter of like, I'm ready for it to kind of unfold, but the reason I'm taking these like Sundays and like this week, I'm going to be spending, a certain amount of time down here, and just focusing on it is I kind of look at it as an opportunity to, really make this the best that it can be. So, and also it's an opportunity to grow for me. It's an opportunity to experience something that I haven't experienced, and it's an opportunity for me to grow through that experience. And at the end of the day, regardless of whatever emotions I'm feeling, regardless of the thoughts that come through my head, regardless of whatever right? Like my end goal is personal growth, and my end goal is using this ceremony to help me feel better and help the people around me feel better. And at the end of the day, that's all I care about. So setting an intention for me has been very important. And I would say anybody that wants to do this ceremony or wants to do any type of psychedelic ceremony or anything that you do, you know, what's the end goal? What are you anchoring this at? You know, like, and for me, it's like me and my family, and obviously, you know, like the personal growth piece of just being able to, after this ceremony, be able to emotionally grow and stuff like that. So anyway, it's Sunday before Aya. We're getting rolling, and yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
All right, so first things first, why in the world did I want to do ayahuasca? Well, some of you all might know my beautiful and amazing wife, Tiffany Toombs, the NLP queen. She put up a video on this channel about a little bit over a month ago and specifically talked about her experience and why she took it. And ultimately, the reason that I took ayahuasca was because ultimately for my entire life, I have felt like I've been in a cage. And ultimately over the past few years, and you all know what I'm talking about, but over the past few years, definitely around 2020, I felt like that cage had became a lot more relevant. And ultimately feeling like we were caged in and we couldn't do anything, I felt that way my entire life. But not only that, I also felt that there was some massive blocks that I had in regards to the story and the reality that I wanted to live. And ultimately, I had tried a lot of other ways to get over these, but for whatever reason, I was having a lot of challenges when it came to being disciplined to get over these blocks. Blocks of things that have came from abandonment, that have came from being lied to, that have came from literally being stabbed in the back, and ultimately everything else in between. And I wanted to go because I had heard from many of my friends and ultimately my wife that this could be the key to going out there and transforming yourself fully and ultimately reaching that reality that I wanted. So ultimately, I knew very soon that this was a possibility for me. And then I started doing the research. And when I started doing the research and really seeing where this came from and ultimately what this has done and proven to do for other people, I knew this just made sense. And I knew that this was the path that I needed to take. And I then just went on a journey to start walking that path and ultimately hoping that ayahuasca would fall when it was supposed to. And it did. So what is ayahuasca? Well, my wife, Tiffany Toombs, put up a video that talks specifically about what ayahuasca is and where it comes from, and you can go check it out up there. But ultimately, what ayahuasca is it's an Eastern plant medicine that helps people, right, get rid of their ego and ultimately, right, get rid of baggage and trauma and allow them to see past that trauma and ultimately see what they could be walking into. It helps people shed away past wounds and past things that they've been through and ultimately gives people a lot of times a vision that helps them right step into. That was the goal that I was really after. I was looking for when I went there to see what direction do I need to go with, right? That was my main goal. I'm sitting here and I'm like, I have all of this stuff, but I actually don't know if I'm walking in the right direction. I actually don't know if I'm fighting the right battles. I actually don't know if this is where I need to be. There's all those things that happen because of those things, the stress, the anxiety, all that stuff. That was the core of it all. And I went there to figure out, hey, I just want to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and that I'm helping the people that I need to be helping. And that I'm doing the things that I was put on this earth to do. And that was the big question that I went there with. And I'm so glad that I did that before I went, because by doing that, it made the ceremony that much easier. Because even when I was journeying, I knew what to focus on, and that helped me stay on the highway of where I needed to go with the journey to get the answers that I got. All right, so you might have seen ayahuasca, you might be watching this video because you've heard of it and you're thinking about doing it. Well, this section here is for you because I want to explain to you specifically how me and Tiffany kind of got into this. We found out about ayahuasca years ago. This wasn't something that just stumbled upon us. So we kind of put a calling out to Mother Ayahuasca around like, we would like to do this. Can you just show us like when we're ready and show us the path that we need to go? Ultimately, at least with our ayahuasca ceremony, it's not a private ceremony, but ultimately it's one of those things that it's invitation only. You can't just go out to a website and say, I want to do ayahuasca, I want to sign up and I want to pay money. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work like that. There's going to be guidelines and things that we need to make sure that we follow, but ultimately we need to make sure that we're doing it for the right reasons. And we also need to make sure that we're safe when we do it. Now, there's an ayahuasca diet that, again, my beautiful wife, Tiffany, talked about in her video. She breaks down this diet that you kind of go on when it comes to food. Now, I want to talk about the diet as well, but ultimately I want to talk about diet looking a little bit from a different lens because there were some things that I had to do in regards to this diet that Tiffany didn't have to do.
All right, it's real now. I don't get to eat pork anymore. Or at least I don't get to eat pork until the Aya journey. Oh man, it's like my favorite thing in the morning. Bacon. No more for 2 weeks.
Why did Tiffany do ayahuasca before I did? Well, she did ayahuasca before I did because I had to be taken off medication that was given to me by Western medicine. For the longest time, I've been given medication, or you can simply call it antidepressants, but things like Prozac, Ritalin, Adderall, for decades. In fact, I believe I was given some of this stuff before I was at the age of 7. And ultimately, right, I have been on this stuff for a lot of my life. To do ayahuasca, I had to be off of any type of medicine that related to that. And the scientific term is I need to be off of SSRI medication. So any type of medication that has to do with putting something into or blocking brain function. Now, if we look at the history of Western medicine and we look at the history of Eastern medicine, it's pretty clear. Western medicine is there to block what is happening. Eastern medicine is there to heal it. And this is a very, very great quote that I got on Gaia from the beautiful and amazing documentary called Emotion that Dr. Joseph Dispenza was in, and I believe he had a part in producing. And ultimately what they said is that our body heals itself. Naturally, our body is here to heal itself. Doctors cannot heal us. They can set our bone. They can prepare something to heal maybe at a faster rate, but they are unable to go and heal a problem that our body has. Our body heals itself. And ultimately, when we can look at this is the big difference between Eastern medicine and Western medicine. If I go and I get an Advil or I get a Tylenol or I get whatever I need to get to block a headache, it is not taking away the headache. All it's doing is it is adding in a numbing agent so that I don't feel the headache for so long and hope that the headache is gone for whatever reason that started it 4 hours ago. Right? Because normally Tylenol, Advil, and all that lasts for 4 to 6 hours. So you'll see people that have headaches, that have migraines, that have these body aches, and they're going to literally pop pills like Tylenol or Advil throughout the day. I've seen people pop anywhere up to 12 pills to take away this stuff. And the reason that is because they're not solving the pain. They're not healing the pain. They're not getting it out of their body. They're simply blocking the pain from their brain of being able to feel it. And that's the biggest difference between Western and Eastern medicine. For the longest time, I was put on those medicines and for decades by multiple doctors told that I was not able to be taken off of them. Even though that I had many requests to do so, I was told that I wasn't able to do it. My wife, Tiffany, who I've now mentioned a couple of times in this video, and I think this is very, very important to mention. When I told that I wanted to go out there and do ayahuasca, I had to get off SSRIs. Doctors would not get me off of them. They refused. I asked multiple doctors in multiple states, and their big thing was, well, I didn't put you on it, so I can't take you off. Even though I was begging people to get taken off this medicine because it actually caused me pain. No one cared, right? No Western medicine doctor or anything that actually cared, that I saw. And I went through at least like 6 or 8 of them. Tiffany put me on, right, basically a program for 4 weeks. And I'm not saying this would happen for you. I'm not saying this would happen for everybody, but it happened for me. And she put me on a program for 4 weeks, starting the day after I was told that I was unable to get off this medicine by a Western doctor. And that would be impossible to do. And in 4 weeks, completely got me off the medicine to where I haven't taken a pill. Look back at taking a pill, and I'm gonna be honest with you, this isn't just me saying it. I feel better than ever because I have my emotions back. I'm not numb inside my body. I feel joy again. I have my edge back. All that stuff came because I was being numbed out by the medicine. And all that emotion was being blocked by the medicine. And ultimately, I want anybody to think that if they've been on medicine for a long time and you want to get off of it, I want to let you know that there is possibilities to get off this medicine. And it starts with a self-healing journey. And it starts with doing small things each and every day, right? That is practicing the way that our human body was conditioned, right, to act every day. We're not supposed to be put in a box. We're not supposed to be put in a cage. We're not supposed to be, slapped around and told what to do. We're supposed to be free, and we're supposed to fly freely, and we're supposed to be creative, and we're supposed to go out there and help people with the gifts that we have. We're supposed to be different and bring unique gifts to the table. Yet a lot of Western medicine and a lot of doctors, and some people would say a lot of governments don't like that. And ultimately, they want to do their best to put people into a cage, and that's the exact feeling that I felt on this medicine. And I want to let anybody know that if they're in any medicine, I want you to know that there is a way out. Not only can you reach out to me and Tiffany to help with that, but you can get started with our 7-day nervous system reset. It's down there in the description. This was my first week of what Tiffany took me through to help me get off that stuff. And I got into that routine of doing these simple things. These are 5 to 10 minute exercises a day. And it actually helped me not only get to a better place, but to get off medicines that I've been wanting to get off of for a long time. I can't guarantee that it's going to do that for you. We're all built differently, but it did it for us, and it did it for me. And if you're looking for help, there's a good chance it might do it for you too. And I ask you to open up a new tab, go down there and grab that 7-day nervous system reset, because I think it could help you start that journey that you've been looking to start. All right, so back to ayahuasca. So ultimately, right, I had to get off these SSRI medications. Like, so my diet didn't just consist of the food, right? Getting rid of pork, getting rid of red meat, right? Really coming down to like the last couple of days, I'm only eating fruit, and really just cleaning out the system. I had to get off medications, as well as, like there's something that a lot of people mention, right? Like there's no sexual activity for weeks, like none, no sexual activity at all. And, that's another thing, right? That as a man, I had to give up that stuff. And so you kind of get thrown this stuff, and it's understanding that also, part of what this is going to do is an anti-parasitic. So, doing parasite cleanses and doing stuff like that beforehand can be very, very beneficial. The biggest thing that I focused on beforehand was obviously following the diet and following the things that I knew I needed to do. But the big thing that I focused on beforehand, especially the week leading up to, was I would have moments where I just would sit down and I would think. And ultimately, like, I was doing my best to stay present around everything that was happening. Truth was, I was scared to death a couple weeks ago. I had no idea what I was walking into. I'd heard everything from people barely feel anything to people feel like they're dying. And, I didn't know if I was ready for something like that. But at the end of the day, I knew that this was a portal that I'd been called to. And regardless of how fearful I was, I also knew deep inside that to get where I wanted to go, this was a door I needed to walk through. And that was ultimately what I did. So before ayahuasca, there's going to be some things that you are going to need to do. And ultimately, this isn't just a, hey, you can go sign up and show up, right? We gotta be off SSRIs. We can't be doing things like marijuana or cocaine or anything like that. Obviously, no drugs at all. And you can't be doing anything like, all that stuff gets stripped. Now, I don't do any drugs, but, there are people that do. So it's just kind of one of those things that I want to make sure that, when you walk into something like this is a cleansing experience. It's there to clean out trauma. So we start that well before the ceremony begins, and then ultimately we take that into the ceremony as a way to help us with not purging and other things that's happened. So now that we talked about what happened before ayahuasca, let's talk about the day of.
All right, here we are, the night before. For a lot of things going through my head. It's interesting. Today, the past couple of days have been very busy. Trying to stay very active, knowing that I was going to reach this point of just like total concentration over this. So I've done my best not to like overthink it and just sort of follow the process along the way. But of course, all the questions that always come up are coming up. Like, just there's excitement about it. There's, what's going to happen. What have I been doing? So I've been journaling a lot. I've been taking a lot of my thoughts. I've been having a lot of them, putting them on paper. But beyond that, just really something that my wife told me. She talked about this in her video where she did IU as well, which was basically just set an intention. I'm going to go there and I'm going to get, ask this question or this series of questions, or a couple questions, aim to get a result from that. I think Tiff and I are going for Tiff and I, did this for very similar reasons. My intention is to more or less, I feel like I've lost myself a little bit. And in the sense of, I don't have like, I really want to find my hunger again. As far as hunger, I just meant like being full throttle all the time. I used to have it. And right now, I just, as you get older and, you go through it over and over and over again, you have a child, like, all these things. And I feel like, like I still have it inside of me. I feel like for whatever reason it's blocked. And I can't, like, for whatever reason, I've had the challenge to keep it consistent. And, I want to really dig into who I am And, I feel like I'm at the grasp of, something I'm supposed to see, and a reality I'm supposed to see, something I'm supposed to take action toward. I felt about just haven't been able to get a clear vision of it. So I'm going there really to, for that, really vision and, like just a little bit more of a longer roadmap. And ultimately, figuring out, for whatever reason, what left, or, like what am I missing? What did I have that I don't have now? For that's tied to this emotional response. So anyway, it's about 9:40 the night before. This is what's going on, and I'm gonna journal a little bit more and think a little bit more, and then going to bed pretty early tonight, early for me, and get up tomorrow, and it's just full focus, getting everything ready, and heading out. So yeah, I'm for ayahuasca, and I never thought I'd be doing something like this.
Today's the day. We leave in about 5 to 10 minutes. Just getting the final stuff packed here. Just decided to kind of come out here and reflect one more time. Interestingly enough, of course, the day of and the day before, things happen. We had internet go out yesterday, just to come back just in time, for me to do a presentation, which went great. And then today, just kind of going out there and, kind of documenting that, today's the day that I do this. You've, definitely had some haters that have, kind of entered into the realm and do their best to dislodge or knock off track, like our mindset or what we've been working on. This ayahuasca journey has not just something I just like randomly decided to do. It's been a process of about probably 6 to 9 months of study and my own study and understanding what it is and if it's something Tiff and I should do. And really studying the origin and where it came from and what it's for and how it can be used as a utility or a tool to help us get to the spot we want to get to. But you have these people come in that think this is the devil, they think this is satanic, they think that this is part of demonic, all these different things. You got people coming in saying that former religion's the only way, or God's the only way, and I'm just like, it's our creator. Like we all fight over, God, and it's like, I'm not getting into that, but I mean, it's, I think we're all fighting about the same thing. So, we're big believers that, this is our journey, and, Aya, in our opinion, is a part of that journey for some people, not everybody, but for some people. And we believe that we're part of that group. And we both strongly believe that this is going to do nothing but enhance our relationship with our creator. And ultimately help us see things and work on things that we might not be able to see now. So, that's kind of the big thing. I'm going in with some intentions, going in with some intentions today. Worked on that last night after talking to you guys, and really, sit down last night and today, and just doing a lot of reflection, a lot of just focusing on what the intention is. And again, I think it's real easy to go to these things and get excited and get, amped up, get adrenaline flowing, and then, not quite having a full experience. And I'm doing my best to make sure that that's not here. I'm doing my best to slow down. I've, prepared my schedule for that. Had that yesterday. I've had nothing on my schedule today besides watching Little Man, and really getting to spend some quality time with him or son. So that's really what's been my day, is just really just a lot of gratitude, a lot of just time with family, with the things that I focus on and want to get better at, family, and stuff like that. So, did a bike ride last night, a really long bike, a good bike ride last night of nearly 40 miles. So just hitting all the boxes of the things that I do, right? It's a bike ride for health, focus on family, focused on business yesterday. So all of these things, I kind of got to a point and got to a goal of where I wanted to get to, did it successfully. And by doing that successfully and like, okay, I'm here, that, you know what I mean? And I did all this work, and that's helped build this confidence and teed up the today. Because if I didn't finish
if I didn't set, like, I want to get this stuff done, but this is where I turn it off, and then I didn't get to that stuff done, I probably wouldn't feel as good as I do today. So if you're doing this or anything that you're planning on doing, that's a big leap, right? I mean, like, it doesn't have to be an Aya journey, but, maybe it's the day that, you're hitting that goal. How did you plan up for that day? Again, it's very rarely just you wake up and magic happens, right? We usually work toward the goals we want to achieve. So, that's something that I would look at when you're, anytime you're doing, that's kind of what we've done in this process. Is it's definitely been more than just wake up and go do ayahuasca one day. It's very much a process of, step by step. So, focus really. I'd be lying to you if I tell you I wasn't nervous. Super nervous. Don't know what to expect. I've never been there. This is, doing this with 20 people that you don't really know at all, and there's just a lot of trust and a lot of grace in a part of that. And, I'm really excited for the experience. I'm excited just to go through it and see what's on the other side. Not everybody gets the opportunity to not only not do this, but to ever even know that it exists. And I'm super excited to kind of take my first steps into this. And I know I have a strong feeling inside that this isn't going to be the only time that I do this, that this is, I got a strong feeling this is going to turn into some sort of routine. Again, I'm open to all of it. And, Tiff and I definitely want to do this together. We think there's a difference in, individually and together. So there's all these things, and we're just really excited to kind of what we classify as set our baseline with it, do it once, see where we're at, and then see how the tool or the utility of it can help us progress further. So anyway, before I start rambling, this is me before I go, and it's what I do a little bit sometimes. But before I go into that, this is my mindset of where I go, and really just gonna be 2.5 hour drive on the way out there. And we're going to step into the unknown. See you there.
All right, so we talked about what happens before, and there's a lot of other things that can happen. We've actually broken down a lot of these into short videos, so you can go and check those out here on this channel. When it comes to basically prerequisites as well as things to do before ayahuasca, prep, all of that stuff, we've broken that stuff down into videos as well, so you can go and check all of that stuff out here on our channel, specifically around the diet and prep and things that you can do to really enhance your experience when it comes to ayahuasca. So make sure to go check that stuff out down below. All right, so let's talk about the day of. So first things first, we traveled. This isn't something that we did at our house, so it's about a 3-hour drive for us, ish, and we're driving through Appalachia. I mean, we're driving deep into the Appalachian Mountains to do this. So this is very remote. We do not have service where we were at. I mean, we're talking like extremely remote. The cool part is, though, at least with our drive, is it's probably the most beautiful 3-hour drive that you're ever going to have. We skirt across the Appalachian Mountains pretty much the entire way. It's mainly on a 2-lane road for more than half the way, and you're literally just weaving in and out of mountains. It's absolutely gorgeous. So like kind of any nerves that I had before were kind of calmed down because of the nature and the environment that I just kind of like dove into. The ceremony, especially on Friday, the ceremony doesn't happen until at night. So our goal is really to get there around 5 o'clock. So I did a lot of preparation before I went. So when you go, right, like you obviously need to bring some stuff with you. So things that you need to bring that are very important, at least on our trip, is we needed to bring something we were going to sleep on. So I went and I got a little kind of twin blow-up mattress, right, that you could just blow up, by pumping it with your foot, right? So I went and got one of those. I got a sleeping bag. I brought my pillow. I personally brought my crystals, like crystals for protection and crystals for the answers that I was wanting to do. And also I brought in a couple of citrine crystals because that's my personal crystal. So I brought like stuff like that with me, and I brought that in my medicine bag. I brought my journal, and I did a lot of journaling while I was there. I brought an excessive amount of water. So, obviously we're not eating. So for about a 24-hour period, because we're really wanting the medicine to be the only thing in our body at that time. So, it kind of helped me not think about being hungry. On the way there, I actually texted Tiffany and I was like, this is going to be rough. I'm already hungry. So, but I did eat in the morning. So you're allowed to eat up till noon. So I ate a very light breakfast. I had pineapples, eggs, and that was it for breakfast. I think a couple of strawberries for breakfast. That was it. So very, very light breakfast. So, normally I kind of went into, okay, it's time to eat again. And I didn't have any, oh crap. So, but it ended up being okay. because you definitely kind of, when you take the medicine, it kind of shuts it all off. You don't even get thirsty for a few hours. So I mean, like it's really just kind of in there doing its thing. So ultimately, like, you know, I remember I got in the car around 2:00, and ultimately we had everything packed. So, you know, again, I just kind of went through my essentials. I'm only there for one night, you know, but you can go, like next time we go, we're probably gonna go for 2 nights. It's a full weekend ceremony. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And ultimately, right, like, you know, you're just going in, you just need these essentials to obviously be able to operate. And they'll have some things for you that you can take. I also took utensils. I took a bowl and utensils. So there will be food after the ceremony. So you can kind of, you know, eat after the ceremony. Everybody's asked to bring in a dish or bring in food for everybody to share. So that is kind of something that everybody does. And when I was driving there, I had a lot of thoughts going through my mind. I believe it got a little bit more intense. I remember just driving on the way there. It was like, holy crap, like what am I about to do?
Hey, yo. We are on our way. I am somewhere in Tennessee, somewhere in East Tennessee. I really don't know where. It's a lot of blue mountains surrounding me, which is always a great sign. I know that's what I'm heading into. It's what we live in. Anybody that's been to the Great Smoky Mountains, at any capacity, in any state, we'll recognize the blue haze, we'll recognize the blueness in the mountains. But I'm on my way to do my first ayahuasca experience, and the emotion has intensified. You know, it's something about leaving your wife and your only son, your only boy, your only child, to go do something like this by yourself with people that you don't know. There's a lot of things that I could easily say I'm assuming or wanting to expect. I'm actually doing my best and just stay centered and stay present, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that I can't control. There's a lot of things that I've controlled to get to this point: my diet, my everyday routine, the healing that I've been doing, the routine, just the things that you work on. But I've done all the steps I believe I can do. I can understand why the diet's the diet. I mean, I definitely feel different inside, not in a bad way, just, I'm starving right now. I'm really hungry. And it's only 4:12 today. And yeah, I'm really, really hungry. I know I'm not really going to be eating until probably this time tomorrow. So that's going to be interesting. I went and stocked up on water on the way here. But other than that, just a lot of things going through my head. I think just the biggest thing I'm doing right now to focus is focusing on the fact that, presence, be present. It's really easy. I think it's going to be really easy for me in my personality. It could be to get out of being present, get out of realizing what you're here for, what you want to do, being in the moment instead of constantly thinking about before or after that moment. And then lastly, I think, I've really, honed into what are the questions? And the questions that really came back down to basics for me. Like, I've even had the question pop from my head, like, who am I and what am I here for? I think the way that a lot of us see the world is a fabrication of what the world actually really is because of modern day and what people, claim. So, I'm really excited. Oh, man, going into the mountains. I'm really, really excited for the journey, because I think it's gonna be a portal for me. I think this is part of my healing. I think this is part of the journey for me, but I also think this is a gateway. And I felt this gateway calling my name for quite some time. Obviously, we didn't know too much about what it was when we got started and started thinking about doing it. We've obviously done all of our research, talked to many friends who have done it, had their own experiences, and really made sure to do this the right way. And I'm really excited to see what happens. So yeah, we're on our way, and see what happens.
And even though I wasn't fearful, because I'd already kind of made the decision in my head, I'm about to do this, this is needed, and I'm not going to allow anything to stop me. It doesn't mean that the demons aren't going to cross and try to get you to second guess yourself. I mean, it got pretty rough around an hour in, and I started realizing Chad's not here, Tiffany's not here, I'm by myself. I'm about to go and embark on this even though our astrologer was there, I'd never met him in real life. So I'm about to go be with 20 other people that I do not know, and I'm literally about to do this medicine. There's a lot of trust, right, that goes into that. right? I mean, like, and I'm sitting there and like just all these things are coming in. I'm doing everything I can to just like, calm down. I stopped a couple of times. I got some extra water. I actually stopped at a river on the way for like 5 minutes. I put my feet in the, all these little things. But I want to let you know, like, that's normal. And the way I relate this is anytime we're about to do something new, or we're about to do something that is probably about to help us, guess what? Those demons are going to come in. Those thoughts are going to come in, and they're going, and that's natural. You're not doing it. Nobody's doing anything wrong. If you had those natural things come in, I actually look at it as there's about to be a massive breakthrough. And I welcomed all of those doubts, and I welcomed all of that stuff that tried to sabotage what I did, because at the end of the day, that was just proof that they were going to do everything they could to not have me live this experience. So if you ever go through something like that and you feel like, hey, like every time it seems like I'm about to have a breakthrough, something happens, I want you to know it happens to everybody. And it's usually just a sign that you are about to have one of the biggest breakthroughs you've ever had in your life, and to take that next step forward. All right, so we're getting close to being there, and I remember like, my service started really getting low. And I just remember like, I wanted to make sure that I called and I talked to Tiff. So, I got to a spot where we were on our way there, and I just stopped and I was like, I just wanted to let you know, just cross state line. This is where I'm at. I don't know how much longer service is going to be available, and I just want to let you know how much I love you guys. And then I drove in, and I knew I wasn't going to have service possibly until I got there. There was like one spot where you have like one bar when you get there. So I'm sitting there, and like she's like, okay, just make sure to text me when you get there and stuff like that. But then I remember like there was kind of this disconnection in my body like on the way there, because it was kind of like, wow, like I'm leaving this world and I'm entering into this. So there was definitely kind of like that walkthrough for me. And that was definitely me, but it doesn't mean it happens for everybody, but that was kind of like the beginning parts of it for me, because I was like, I'm really disconnecting from my wife, who I'm around every single day, right? Like this is the first time that I've, in years that I have, we haven't been in the same house, right, together, besides when she went and did ayahuasca. And, this is the first time away from my son overnight. So there was a lot of that kind of went into like, this is a major step forward. And then we get there, and it's there's no service when you get there. So you kind of have to stop, and then they give you directions. They gave us directions, and we kind of had to go and figure our own way there. So you're really kind of out on your own little island. And I remember I got there, and there's a rock driveway, and you literally drive probably about 3/4 of a mile up into the property. It's a huge property. I think it's about 100 acres. So it's not a small thing. It's also, it's not like it's right out in the open. You're in the middle of the mountains. Like, I classified it as, it felt like I was walking into heaven. It really did. And, we get there, then we go up. And I remember I got there, and like when I got to the driveway, a new emotion kind of picked up. And it was this like common emotion that I would normally get. I would start to get super, I guess the best word is antsy. And it's usually because I get nervous. And it's like, I'm about to meet new people I don't know. I'm about to meet, my shaman, who I've never met. I'm about to meet my astrologer, who I've never met. Right? There's just all these things. And I'm like, okay, make sure you're in the right, mindset, and this is really for me becoming ultra present in every step and every thought and everything I was doing really kind of kicked in when I got there. And I remember I got there, there's not a lot of places to park. I actually got there pretty early, and it was packed already. There's probably already 12 people there. We had 20 people at the ceremony. And so there wasn't a lot of places to park, and we have an SUV. So I'm just sitting there trying to figure out a place to park. So that was kind of an adventure. And then you get there, and it's not like you park next to the place, or it's in a yurt. There's a trail that leads to a yurt, right? So like, you're trying to figure all this stuff out. I didn't know where I was going, so you're just trying to find out where everything is and try to get acquainted with everything. But there's a lot of it's a beautiful property, and one of the things that I think is really cool about this is, even though they do provide you a yurt to sleep in, there's a lot of people that sleep in tents outside, which I think is really, really cool. And that's what we're looking at doing next time we go. There's also a swimming pond. There's a sauna with a real fireplace. There's multiple yurts on the property. There's multiple tiny houses on the property. It's a really, really neat setup, how they've done it. And it is insanely quiet and insanely beautiful. One of the cool things that I thought was really cool was there was natural crystals on the property. I was walking by, I remember I walked by, and there was like crystals coming out, and there was natural orange crystal. It looked like citrine coming out, of the property. And I've never actually seen crystal in the ground like that. It was super cool. So just a really, really magical place like that. And then we got in, and like the first thing we needed to do was obviously we needed to drop off our food, and then you start meeting people. So it's very much like you're starting a new day of school. You don't know anybody. You're kind of forced into this. So everybody kind of gets there, and everybody's kind of like, I think, feeling the same thing. But I think it was very, very calming for me to start walking up and introducing myself. And for me, what I did was I just was like, look, I'm the new guy. I don't know what to do. My wife came last month. I'm super excited about being here, but I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And it became just, everybody was super nice, and you find out very, very quickly, at least within this space, it was extremely safe space, right? People didn't expect me to know what to do. It was okay. It was okay to ask questions. It was okay to ask for help. And like, I think I've been told that other ceremonies, it's not like that. So at least at our ceremony, it was very much like that, and it really helped calm the nerves early on. We went in and we get all packed up, and then initial thing we do is you go to the place you're going to sleep. So this is a yurt, and the yurt kind of sits in a very far part in the property. So I brought my like backpacking, my big backpack that we bring on our hikes, and it had my sleeping bag and everything I told you before that was in it. Walked it up there and we sat down. So there's really not much that goes on before. It's just a lot of getting acquainted with the property. You kind of meet all the people that you can. I only met like half the people, because everybody's kind of off doing their own thing. And then, we basically come together around 7 o'clock. And then we had, a new, and then we start basically the ceremony around 7 o'clock. The ceremony takes a couple hours to get started because there's a new member kind of like orientation you got to go through. We all kind of go through and understand what exactly is going to happen. How is the ceremony run? And then ultimately around 9 o'clock is when it's go time. So at 9 o'clock we started, and it starts to get dark. And I thought it was very interesting because right before it started and our shaman started talking and telling us about the ceremony, multiple owls and owls was prevalent, but also multiple animals started making noise. And I thought that was so beautiful and so just enlightening at the same time, because I'm a big believer that, it's so easy for us to look at animals and just ignore animals, at least, or just see that we're humans and we're the master, animal of this universe or whatever. And I don't believe that, right? I believe we're one of other animals. And I think it's real easy for the modern world to kind of take that out. And ultimately I think that, kind of being in that environment kind of helped open up to like, we're all one, right? And, we're all on this earth, living on this earth together. And I thought it was really interesting because I think it kind of showed that, they were there, whether it was for protection, whether they were there as a messenger, whatever it was. I found it really interesting that those animals definitely perked up and started making a lot of noise right when we got started. So we got started, we did our new member circle, and then I was the third one to take the medicine. So I had no idea where I'd put myself. I just went in initially and looked for a spot, and my spot was right next to the entry. And I had no idea. I just kind of sat down. I had no idea who the shaman was. And the shaman comes in and I look at it and I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, either going to be one of the first ones or one of the last ones. I don't know. And I ended up being one of the first ones. I was the third one. And I remember I went in, and basically the way he had done it is, there's 3 servings if you want it. So you have your first serving, which is a full serving. Second serving, if you want it, about an hour and 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later. And then a third serving if you want it as well. And they kind of go down, they decrease in the level, right? But it's all there. And basically the reason that is because really especially with new members, there's a sensitivity. The way this medicine works is you have the vine and then you have the leaf. Each one of them plays a specific role in beginning the journey in your body. So understanding the chemical mix of people and how they're going to react is, for me. And for example, I went and I did my first one. And very similar to Tiffany, as she talked in her first video, I sat there for about an hour and 10 minutes and nothing happened. I didn't feel anything. I just kind of sat there and wondered, is Mother Aya going to come and talk to me? I was sitting there and I was like, is this what it is? Like, I'm staring, I don't feel nothing. And I started even getting into my head around that 30 to 40 minute, and I'm like trying to make myself feel something, like, is it? And I was, getting to this point of just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, you gotta be kidding me, and then it came back around, and I remember like, I'm sitting there and I'm a little like, you could probably tell in my face, I'm a little like, you gotta be kidding me. This ain't gold. And so I went up and he basically asked for second rounds. I didn't want to be the first one. I didn't want to seem overeager, but I definitely wasn't the first one. There was someone else that was overeager. So I was the third one to take the second round. Now I ended up taking the second round, and it was a lot different than the first one. The first one was a full one. I personally didn't think the taste was bad at all. Tiffany might have a little bit of a different recollection of this. My thing was it tasted a little bit like black licorice. I think she talked about that. But there wasn't anything major like crunchy or big in it. It was mainly just like you could feel little particles in it. I drank it with my eyes closed. maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I did that, and it felt like you were drinking slime a little bit, but it didn't have like a harsh taste. It wasn't hard to get down. The only sensation I really got is I felt like it was a bit peppery. So there was a little bit of spice to it, and it kind of stuck in the throat for a little bit. But other than that, to me, it honestly just felt like I was eating greens. Like it wasn't that bad at all. But I ended up, so I took the medicine, and I get back, and I remember like right when I got back to my mattress, I remember sitting down and I was like, oh shit. And I felt something. Now what I felt though was here in my gut, and what I felt was me about to purge. And I remember sitting there and I was like, please don't be the first one. Please don't be the first one to throw up. I wasn't the first one to throw up, but the night I thought I was. I didn't hear anybody else. I remember like it coming, and then it was like it was like walking through a door. I don't know how else to explain it. I kind of just saw this circle of light and immediately just went directly into my bucket. And I remember it was just like, I saw a circle of light, and I probably saw a circle because I saw the rim of my bucket. And I literally just remember I purged, I threw up multiple times, and then all of a sudden I was gone. And for a little while, it was only me and my bucket. And the only thing I could think of was get all of this out of me. And it was this constant purging. And I had a very, very heavy first purge. And my first purge got me to a point of absolute freak out. What had happened was I closed my eyes, and part of what this medicine has been said to do is it can put you into a realm of you're floating around, kind of. And that is what I had entered. And I was scared of opening my eyes because I didn't feel like I was connected to anything. I had thrown up in my bucket, but I had gotten to a point where I couldn't stop. I felt like I couldn't stop throwing up. And I didn't feel like there was any more, but what had happened was I was throwing up so vigorously that my breath got off. And I had stopped breathing deeply, and I started doing, and I felt like I couldn't get any air. So I remember what I thought screamed, but it was told it was a whisper. I literally was like, help, I need help, I can't breathe. And immediately, this is like the cool part of the community, was 3 people came to my aid immediately. And 3 people were around me, and they started breathing with me. And then I still was kind of in this freak out state, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm dying. I feel like I'm dying because I have no function. And I feel like I'm losing consciousness. Like I feel like I'm losing myself. And I'll explain kind of what I believe happened there in a second. But what happened there was the shaman came over and immediately said, you're doing okay, everything's fine. But as you're going through this process, we need to take you outside so we don't disturb anybody else. And during this process, I was literally picked up by another male. And I didn't know who it was until the next day. I was picked up by somebody and I was carried outside. And I remember during that time of being picked up, I was picked up by underneath my knees and my neck or my shoulders and held like this as I had a bucket like this and my arm around him like that. And I remember that was the moment where I hit peak when it came to the journey. And I remember the initial journey was a sludge uphill. And we got outside, and I kept telling people, like, I feel like I'm smothered under this massive thing of mud, and I'm stuck, and I can't get up. And I see the hill, and I see the mountain, and I see what I got to get to, but I just can't get to it. And I literally just felt, it was like I was just walking so slowly with everything I had up this mountain. And I think that was what freaked me out, because I felt like I was being smothered. What I honestly believe, what I think happened in retrospect, now that I've looked back a few days, is I honestly think that my spirit was leaving my body. There's a lot of history, and Tiffany talks a little bit about this in her ayahuasca video and her experience of it's there to take away the ego. And I believe that my body carried a lot of ego, and I needed to be taken out of my body to show who I truly was, and that I was nothing more than anybody else but a beating heartbeat and a ball of energy that was sent here to do good in the world. At the peak of that, I remember I was outside and it was cold. So it's fall time now, so it's hot during the day, but it gets really, really cold at night and in the morning. Now it was about 10:30. So I'm probably 20 to 25 minutes into my journey. And I just remember being outside, and that really, really calmed me down, but I also started shivering. And shivering is another thing that can happen when you start journeying. And I started doing that, and probably because I was cold. But what had happened is I started shivering outside. I got really, really cold. I didn't have shoes on. I had shorts on and a t-shirt. Next time I'll bring a hoodie. But I didn't have, so I was pretty cold. And I didn't have any shoes on. I just remember they took me outside and they set me down, and two people were like, listen, you're outside, you're on the ground. You're touching on the ground, there's something to touch. The big sensation was that you were floating and you couldn't touch anything initially, and that initial round was really, really freaky. I went inside, and I was told I was outside for a couple minutes, and I was able to get into a conversation with some people. I said, listen, I just don't know what's going on. I'm freaking out. Like this, what is going on? And I remember to a point, I think I'm dying and I want this over. And this was probably the biggest point that I ran into before I got to the other side. And I remember it got me to a point to where Tiffany and my son Chad flashed in my head. And I just looked up and I just said, I just want to go home. Just take me home. And I hadn't felt an emotion like that in so long, because like I felt like, what am I doing? Why am I here? What am I doing? And it was one of the scariest things that I've ever been through. But at the same time, it was what I needed to walk through to see the other side. And I was projectiling into that bucket. I remember hearing, you have to stare at this, and you have to see that this is all this is. This isn't blocking you. You're blocking you. And like that was like this massive thing. And then I remember it was like, you can't fight me. I kept trying to fight it. I kept trying to just get off. What do you want? And it wasn't until I said, okay, you can have everything but my heartbeat and my bucket. And it got me to remember I was able to get back inside, and I got back inside and I was shivering. And I got to a point where I laid back down and I was like, I just don't want to move. I just want to lay down. And I remember I tried getting in my bag. I was having trouble getting in my sleeping bag. I mean, I felt like I was floating. I felt like I was in space. And I remember I got back in and I'm laying down, and I get to a point and everything seems to be fine for a little bit. What had happened though was I remember when I got back in, so this was maybe 20-25 minutes, and I've been carried outside, all this stuff has happened, and I've purged like crazy. I get back in and I remember saying, okay, I think I've gotten through the roughest part, and I started hearing voices at that time. And that was when voices started coming. And I remember laying there and I was answering the questions to the voices, but I also felt a lot more strength. Something that our shaman told us was that during this journey, there's going to be times where you feel like you need to be helped, and there's going to be times where you feel strong enough to help others. And I thought that was so interesting because like I got to a point where I felt paralyzed. I felt like I died. And the only thing that I really saw inside me was a beating heart. And it was like, this is the only thing you are, a beating heart. Nothing else matters. You're a beating heart in your bucket, right? But that was it. And for me, like coming back in, when I lay back down, I felt strength because I felt like I'd finally gotten to the other side. And I remember the first kind of initial thing was, okay, I'm here. But I started hearing these voices. First voices I started hearing was that I want you to know that not everybody can get through this. You did. I want you to know that I put you through one of the toughest things, or one of the toughest things here, because I needed to make sure that you were fully ready on the other side. That was kind of the first things I started hearing. But then the next thing I heard was that I was a warrior, and that I was not acting as one, that I was a warrior that needed to fly like an eagle every day. And that the roads that I was going to pave were going to be roads that I paved. They were never going to be perfect roads. That I was constantly going to be out where people hadn't been, because that was part of my role to help people follow me in my journey. And that I was looking for possibly roads in my life that people had already been on, because I was playing safe and I was scared to go out and live my full potential. And one of the biggest things I remember during those kind of initial voices was, I want you to know that you're accepted here on this hill, on this mountain. And not everybody's, this is where you belong. Not everybody belongs here. They might belong somewhere else. You belong here. And that was kind of like, I would say that was probably the peak of it. And then I would start saying that was when the layers started coming. And, now I've kind of talked to you about the uphill battle. I'm super excited to talk to you about what the other side was like. All right, so I got through the uphill battle, and that was kind of the initial ayahuasca experience. I got carried, I purged very hard, and I got to a point where honestly I thought I died because I saw myself leave my body. And, a person that I love listening to, Ram Dass, has a very specific way he talks about people who die and how, people are so scared of death. And he talks about how death is like taking off a very uncomfortable shoe. And that's kind of what I felt like. And I remember I was a bit scared, but for whatever reason, as I'm kind of going through this universe, this new realm, I felt being held, right? I was kind of held the entire way. So it was almost kind of like this guiding light. And a big part of what I think helped me with that was music. So there's constant music being playing, and you're told to follow the music, and that was kind of what I did. And once I started being able to come back to, and I kind of went over the purging, over the freak out, I came into this realm of just pure bliss. And what I remember was I felt like like we look at people's faces, we look at ego, we look at, what people have done and all this stuff the modern world brings us. And I felt like this ripped away all that stuff, and it just sort of showed me this is what the real world is, son. This is what it is. And the real world is, we're all energy beings. And we're all out here in the pot, and we're all in this world, doing this thing. And I felt like I was flying in this universe. And like one of the biggest things I kept telling Tiff when I got back was I felt like I was constantly looking for this 2-lane highway. And in my experience, I was told to fly like an eagle. And I was told, this is why you like riding your bike. This is why you like cycling so much. This is why you like, going 40, 50 miles a day and cycling. This is why you like, freedom. And you feel like, all this stuff kind of came back. And it was at this time I remember that I kind of saw myself in a cage. And I saw this cage. And I wasn't in the cage, but I saw myself in the cage. And this was the first time that I saw what I believe was Mother Aya walked over to the cage and just unlocked it. And the door didn't just open, it was blown away. There was no door anymore. And this was the next time I started hearing voices. And this was when I was told, you're here to fly like an eagle, my son. I want you to fly like an eagle. That's what you're here to do. And I want you to know that I'm always here to protect you. That was what I heard. Clear as day. It was like I was there. I wasn't there in my body, but I was there in my spirit. I was there in my soul. And then, so my sensation of like, I felt like I was on this downhill, this slight downhill. It wasn't like straight downhill. It was a slight downhill, which made it super easy to fly. And it was like I was on this downward breeze. And I literally just sort of started flying through the air. And I wasn't scared anymore. And I felt like this was what I was here to do. This is when the layers began. And I found out later on, and the next morning as I was talking to other people, and I talked to Tiffany, that this is very common. But I felt like as it was cleaning, so the first time you do ayahuasca, there's typically, you go there for 2 nights. We went there just for the first night, obviously to make sure we could do it. And then the next time we go, we're gonna go for the full weekend. So the first night, or the first time you take ayahuasca, it's very much a clean out. It's there to clean anything that's gotten in there that needs to be cleaned out. I'd never done ayahuasca before. So there was a lot of things that were super deep inside me that I needed to clean out. The sensation I got was on this 2-lane road. I remember like, it was almost kind of like I would get off the 2-lane and I would go down like, I would go down like this loop road and I would get off track. And the way that I perceived this was a spot in my body that Mother Aya needed to clean out. And I remember I had these sensations of the first layer that I got out. I remember being like, that's over there, and we don't have to go through that again. And that was kind of like one of those initial, like, okay, I think I'm at the top, and I think I'm on the other side of this. And every time I thought I was like back, like, it happened, there was like 20 layers. I mean, there's a lot. And every time that I came back thinking I was back to consciousness, another layer would get pulled out. And it would make me realize, when's this going to end? So for me, that layering process kind of lasted until around, I'd probably say I was in Journey for about 6 hours. So to around 4:30. I wasn't awake the entire time. Definitely when I went back to sleep, I would probably go in and out about every 15, 20 minutes. So I'll be asleep, then I come back to it. But I was very much in the journey, whether I was asleep or I wasn't. I thought that was interesting because my physical body would be asleep. I was so out of my body the entire time. I mean, I was floating around the earth is what I was doing for a very long time. And, some people, what did you see? I saw a lot of colors. So like, if you close your eyes like you're going to sleep, right, you might see colors. I saw a lot of that, but there was a lot of movement in 3D within those colors and just a lot of floating around. And it really goes back to where I felt like I was flying through this realm. I was told to fly like an eagle and then immediately given wings, and I was able to fly. So that was kind of like what happened there. After it got done, right, one of the big things you're told to do is you need to, obviously go document the experience. So I went and I got my journal and I started documenting all these things that had happened, right? And I'm really glad I did that because I got there and I kind of refocused and I put like, here's my intentions. So when I got there, I had my intentions and I had my journal right next to me. But when I was, and I still think I was in journey mode. I just don't think I think I was coming down. And I went out, and just outside of the yurt, you could have kind of like walked up this little hill. And then at the top of that hill, they had a fire circle and they had some chairs. But when you looked up, there was this perfect circle of trees, tops of trees, and it made this perfect circle of the sky. We went just a couple days after a new moon. So tons of stars. I've never seen so many stars ever. Like, it was just ridiculous amounts of stars. So I went up there and I was like, I just want to go. I went up, like, we were allowed to take like a flashlight. I took like a little lantern, camping lantern. So I took it up there and I was like, I just want to write and I don't want this stuff to leave. So I went up there and I started writing. And this was about 4:30. And I wasn't the only one to go up there. After I was up there for about 5 or 10 minutes, there was another person and then another person that came up there, and we just sort of talked. But we really kind of stayed silent for a lot of it. Like, we would just sort of, make jokes. We were both kind of in the middle of our journey. And we didn't know each other too. So, I mean, it was kind of like, trying to be nice, but at the same time, you're trying to, do what you're there to do. And so, we're out there, we're probably out there for about 35, 45 minutes. And I'm literally just taking notes, and she was taking notes. And it was very much just kind of like, you're trying to take these visualizations and try to cement them. And I love that. Around, I think it was about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, I decided I needed to go to sleep. So, I didn't really know if I was going to go to sleep or whatever. So I just went inside and laid down. I was like, okay, let's try to get some sleep. I got about an hour and a half of sleep, and I woke up around 6:30 and I was wide awake. From what we've read and everything we've read about this, as well as other people who have taken this, ayahuasca is very much a stimulant. So it's going to keep you awake. That was very much what it did for me. So I woke up at 6:30 and I had about 8 hours before we did like our integration circle. So I had a lot of time to really reflect. And, during that time, I did, get to a spot where I could text Tiffany and was like, listen, I want you to let you know I made it through. I'm okay. I have so much stuff to tell you. That was pretty much it. And then other than that, I walked around barefoot a lot. Purging is not just throwing up. You can purge through any way of getting out of your body. So pooping, sneezing, crying, laughing, all that stuff counts. I ended up using the bathroom multiple times that morning, 4 different times. So I was definitely still in purge state. I was still cleaning stuff out. And I went and I actually sat in the sauna for a little bit, went down to the lake a little bit. We talked to some people. Luckily for me, there was a lot of experienced people there. There was about 6 new ones, but there's 14 people there that had done it a lot. So, I mean, it was really cool to kind of see that. And we just did a lot of talking. You're allowed to eat that second morning, so I ate a lot of fruit, just a lot of fruit. And just a lot of reflection. So, like, I find it really cool that, ayahuasca, is, at least our ceremony, is not built around just doing it and then leaving. But it really starts weeks ahead. And then even when it's done, we also have this reflection time, visualization time, as well as integration time. So this led to us meeting right at 2 o'clock. And basically what happens is we all meet and we meet around a circle, we meet around a fire. There's a huge significance to that, right? This is how human beings started to gather in the beginning. It was around a circle, around a fire, right? And so like there's just a massive, massive energy to that. And we met around the fire, and I actually was lucky, and I got to sit right next to the shaman. So I was sitting next to him, and I got a chance to kind of talk to him about some stuff, and that was just really cool, and the energy was insane, getting to sit next to him. But then we started going around in a circle, and I actually was the first one to talk about my experience. Now, the really cool part about this was we did a lot of hugging. We did hugging right before the ceremony started in a circle. We did hugging and I thought that was really great, by the way. It was like the last thing we did right before we started was hug each other, and everybody would say, you got this. Like, I know you got this, and I'm here if you need me. And it's literally just like all of us are in this together. That was super cool, because that really reminded me around Native American teaching, one body, one mind, one soul, and that can really help elevate what all of us are looking to do. And I think there's a lot to be said about that in our country right now, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. And, I kind of looked, at that and was just sort of like, that's super cool. And we did and as we entered it, we also exited with that exact same thing. So we all went through, we each had 3 to 5 minutes to talk about our thing. So there's 20 of us. You can see it took us about an hour and 15 minutes, I think. So we're sitting around this circle. It was hot. I sweat, all that. But it was one of the coolest things I've been a part of, because all of us went through this and now we're talking to each other. And, I told them my experience and, and all this stuff. And what was so cool is, like, even though I was scared to tell people my experience, they were like, that's so cool. Like, we're so happy for you. That's a powerful experience. And the shaman and other people were there to help me decipher it. It was such a loving community. And that was just such a beautiful part of this, was the community, at least the community we're a part of, they're there as support. And, I honestly, if I had done this by myself or I'd done this with a bunch of new people, I honestly don't think the experience would have been anywhere near as good. I would have freaked out. I would just totally freaked out. Having people there with you that, even though you've never met them, but people that you trust, like, and I trusted those people pretty early on, at least a few people that I'd met, I think that played a huge role in my experience. And I'm really happy, because I really believe that I got a very powerful experience that I needed. After the integration circle, we all hugged, and then I had a chance to kind of talk to the shaman a little bit, about me and Tiffany's experience. And this really comes into the next steps. And, what are me and Tiffany going to do? Do we believe this is really the only thing that, and the truth is Tiffany and I see this as being so powerful that we're actually looking at adding it to our routine. We're looking at doing this on a schedule every probably 3 months, every quarter, as our medicine and as our growth. As entrepreneurs, we get thrown curveballs every day. We're thrown into the modern world. We're thrown into nasty things every day. We don't always deal with great people, nice people. We don't always deal with nice things. A lot of times we get screwed over. All that stuff happens as an entrepreneur, name it. So I really believe that every 90 days, having a great clean out and a great kind of refocus and revision is very, very great for anybody. We believe this medicine is the medicine for us.
Post ayahuasca, driving home. That was the absolute scariest and safest and most loving place I've ever been. I was showed the other side last night. That exists.
And we believe it's the medicine for a lot of people. Now, I'm not going to tell you what medicine you should take. I'm not going to say, go and quit your meds that your doctor gave you. That's not what I'm saying. I did, because I was sick of it. But it doesn't mean, I'm not telling you that's what you should do. What I'm saying is that this is what we believe. And through now our experience, being able to sit back and say, we did this and this is what happened, we truly believe that this is really the medicine, or one of the medicines that was put on this earth for us to experience, so that we could go out there from our Creator and experience a side or a reminder of who we actually are. One of the biggest takeaways that I took from this experience is that our modern world is really nothing but here to distract us from who we actually are. And that was one of the most beautiful things that I felt like Mother Aya showed me was, when you strip away so much of the ego and you strip away so much of what the modern world provides, things, emotions, like fallacies and false truths that are, just so many things that are just not real. I felt like this took me back to a place of what life is like when you can take away all those things and how beautiful it can be, but also the fact that the visionary of this is who you are when you strip away all these things. And I'm here to show you how powerful you can be. That was my biggest takeaway from Aya. And it was so powerful for Tiff and I that not only are we looking to do this every quarter, we're looking at doing this as a practice. And I would highly recommend anybody that wants an experience like experience they're never going to forget, but also is looking for an experience that, maybe Maybe you feel different like I did. I felt different. I felt like I didn't belong on this planet for a long time. And I felt like this was a way for me to reconnect with myself and reconnect with who I was and what I was put on this earth to be. Ayahuasca was without a doubt one of the, if not the best experiences that I've ever been through in regards to my self-healing. I'm super excited to not only have found this community, but now be a part of it. And I'm super excited to share not only my experience, but to help others if they're looking for an experience as well. I hope that watching this video has enlightened not only what this is, but how it could possibly help anybody that is on the fence of wanting to do it. This was very much an awakening for me and a reminder. And it helped me reconnect with who I was and what I was sent here to do. It wasn't magic dust. It didn't just kill off anything. It didn't, I still have to integrate. I still have to take what was said to me, take what I learned and integrate it into my everyday life. However, I honestly don't know if I could have done it without this, because I don't know if I could have cleaned that deep of trauma that I had. How do I feel after ayahuasca? I actually feel a lot more clear. I have a lot more clarity. I feel a lot more whole. I feel complete. I don't feel like I have to think about what to do. I just know I have to go do it. And that's been probably the biggest accelerator for me when it comes to ayahuasca. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope that if you want to take on ayahuasca, it was amazing for me and it was amazing for Tiff. And I think that it can be amazing for anybody who's ready to step into a new reality that they're wanting to achieve. I'm Super Sid, the Business Shaman. Hope you enjoyed my story of taking ayahuasca. And if you're interested in wanting to start a self-healing practice, this is something Tiffany and I did well before we ever took ayahuasca that helped us start on that journey. Then down here below, we have what we call our 7-day nervous system reset. It's there to help clear out the old, very similar to what I went through during ayahuasca, but to clean out the old, clear out the old, so that they're not blocking us anymore, so that we can go out there and we can start stepping into a new reality and manifesting everything that we want. That is what the 7-day nervous system reset is for. It's what we give every single one of our clients when they get started with us to get started on their journey of life transformation, and we would love to give it to you as our free gift so that you can start on yours. It's absolutely free. It's down there in the description, or you can just go to resetmysystem.com/reset and grab yours right now. I'm Super Sid, the Business Shaman, and if you like this video, make sure to give it a subscribe down there below, because this channel is all about helping more people on their self-healing journey so that they can live a life of transformation. We'll see you in the next video.